the room service receipt with my name and the wrong floor. The receipt was folded in half and tucked beneath a silver dome in the hallway as if paper had decided to be shy. For Grant, it said in the neat print that hotels teach their night staff. And then, in pencil along the bottom where totals and tips usually live, Suite 1509, 1120. The tray smelled faintly of strawberries and the kind of chocolate that pretends it's a secret. I stood there longer than a man should stand staring at an hors d'oeuvre cart, until the ice in the water glass sighed and reminded me that some things are designed to melt. I make shoes for a living, not the fashionable kind that confuse ankles, but the honest ones that promise to keep your foot in a day it can survive. Leather glue, thread that knows the difference between show and weight. My shop smells like beeswax and patience. My hands remember every mistake I've ever sanded down to forgivable. Oliver, my partner of 5 years, builds events for brands who believe a lobby can make personality. He has a talent for arranging lights so that people think they're taller than they are. At home, we keep 2 heavy glasses by the sink because we built a rule out of water: pour before the sentence that changes a day. Tonight, the hotel was performing as a temple for Fashion Week: flower walls, a step and repeat that convinced cameras to purr, a mezzanine holding a flock of people in neat clothes and loud voices. Oliver had asked me to bring a repaired boot to a stylist who couldn't live without a particular heel. The tower elevators learned my reflection while I waited with a paper bag that said I could be trusted. I handed the boot to a runner who said, "You saved my life," the way you thank a cab for being a miracle. I meant to go home and sleep like leather in a cool room. Then I saw the tray. I could have texted, "What's Suite 1509?" and waited for a paragraph that could be framed. I could have walked out and let the hotel's perfume lord over people who like to be convinced. Instead, I followed the tray like a man follows a breadcrumb he knows is not bread. The corridor on 15 wore carpet the color of apology. Between 1507 and 1511 stood a door with its latch slightly confident. I knocked because my grandfather taught me that hinges deserve respect even when people don't. He opened the door like someone who understands what a room is for. Mateo. Taller up close, the kind of hands that make rings look modest, a shirt unbuttoned one notion past polite. He smelled like cedar. City men have no imagination about sin, and something darker, expensive, and designed to be remembered. The suite behind him was the kind inexpensive lovers buy with points. 2 chairs, a small table, a bed that tried not to audition. 2 glasses of water sweated on a tray like an alibi that needed practice. Oliver's jacket, navy, the cuff frayed where ambition rubs, hung from the back of a chair as if it had found a home. "You came," Mateo said. He didn't sound like a victor. He sounded like a man who had asked gravity to keep a promise and was relieved it had. "You wrote my name on a bill that belongs to strangers," I said, lifting the receipt. "Paper thinks it's powerful when it's stapled to sweetness." He stepped aside but didn't offer space with his hand. Decent men learn to let air do some of the work. He nodded toward the glasses as if water could be a preface. "He thinks he's meeting me after the sponsor toast to end something politely," he said. "I thought you should have the room first." "How long?" I asked. "Because there are numbers that will be demanded of you, and it's better to own your voice when you speak them." 8 months, he said. "It started with rain and the elevator that hates your shoulder bag, a lobby that sells permission with carpet and slow music. Twice I ended it. He sent me a photo of your breakfast with a complaint about our date's espresso. I respected the sentence and ignored the weather." He reached for a glass and slid it toward me. Our fingers touched. Heat walked the line of my hand as if nerve were a street it had always meant to visit. He came closer and stopped with an inch of air between his forefinger and my wrist. That inch had a temperature. The restraint felt indecent in its kindness. "I didn't put your name there to make you perform," he said. "Secrets pretend they weigh something until you set them in the right air. This is decent air." The door opened behind me with the courtesy of someone who understands hardware. Oliver stepped in wearing the face he gives donors, precise, gentle, the sort of kindness you can rent by the hour. He saw me. He saw Matteo. He saw the jacket and the water and the inch we had taught to speak. He closed the door like a man who remembers to thank hinges. "Okay," he said. "The word did the work it knows how to do." "You could have kept the receipt out of our kitchen," I said. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said, "and after that cowardice." He didn't try to garnish the nouns. I wanted to hate him less for that. I cheated. I told myself it was weather. I told myself home is a noun that survives rain. I told myself your patience is elastic because you mend things. I pretended spark was structure. I want to stop hearing me. Matteo drifted toward the window the way decent men move when oxygen has been called. He lifted his hand again, almost to my neck, stopped at the same inch, and lowered it like a man returning a borrowed word. He had the grace to blush in good light. "What do you want me to do?" Oliver asked. He kept his arms where they belonged. Reaching is a contract that wrists sign. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice. Once with your event voice that spackles narrative over bone. Once with small words that refuse costumes. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said. The sweet exhaled, or I wanted it to. Matteo came near enough for warmth to write a map below my ear and did not touch me. "Thank you for not making me a lesson," he said. "We both would have believed you." He took Oliver's jacket off the chair and placed it on the bed as if returning a witness to its seat. He left without asking the door to be punctuation. Oliver and I looked at the tray because sometimes objects will be brave for you. A strawberry shone like a promise made to a camera. Chocolate waited with a patience it had not earned. I pressed my thumb into the paper until the total softened into the indent. The suite was too quiet for a room. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll take the service stair down and the long way to the street. We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I love him for that, and for the look that said he knew he had forfeited the right to ask for more. We left the suite as if the carpet could press charges. In the stairwell, our footsteps made an admission we didn't need to sign. The city was still awake like a dog that hears its name in everything. On the corner, a cyclist cut the turn, and Oliver's palm hovered near my hip, a reflexive mercy that heat fills without thinking. I wanted to lean. I didn't. A man is allowed to use the boring tool that keeps the lock from lying. At home, the kettle auditioned and then behaved. He laid blankets on the couch with event planner neatness, corners that believed in themselves. I slept on sheets that had decided not to offer an opinion. In the morning, he went to the lobby that sells permission and came back smelling like nothing. The cologne adulthood needs printed in monochrome. He told me he had ended it. He told me the truth twice. The gala version tried to be decent. The small words did the job. "I liked being two men," he said. "One of them wasn't tired. I mistook adrenaline for architecture. I can learn to be one person if you let me do the work." I let him. That is the unmarketable part and the only one with a future. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and relearned our apartment's small geography, the distance between apology and coffee, between a door and its quieter hinge. On the 7th night he came to me without choreography and remembered my mouth with the slow precision we taught each other early and then almost forgot. There is an erotics that arrives as restraint and stays as trust. We let it. Mateo texted 2 days later, "Thank you for telling the truth in a room designed to lie about intimacy." I wrote back, "Try it where nobody composes the lighting." He didn't answer, which was the second best thing he did. Work remained exact and unimpressed by drama. A dancer brought me a heel cap that had fled the scene. I cut leather, built a new cap, and listened to her toes learn courage again. A chef from down the block asked me to risole a boot he'd punished for a decade. I lifted the old sole and found a coin someone had hidden there for luck, tarnished and earnest. I put it back where it belonged. A groom brought a pair of vintage Oxfords that had belonged to his grandfather and said he wanted to walk like a promise. I taught the leather to remember. A week later, I saw Mateo outside the hotel, talking to a bellman about luggage that didn't want to admit weight. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped needing him to be tall. He said hello without trying to hold my afternoon hostage. He didn't smell like cedar. The space between us behaved like furniture. We left each other air and it stayed. Here's the part that refuses applause and matters anyway. I wanted him. I wanted the inch, the heat, the grammar restraint writes on skin when it gets to be fluent. I wanted a mistake neat enough to narrate and survivable enough to keep. I didn't take it. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is a mercy if it helps you like yourself at noon. Oliver and I adjusted our frame. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. Less reach, better touch. He leaves his phone face down in the bowl by the door like a man who believes in containers again. I keep the room service receipt in the drawer beneath the lasts and alls, a small paper proof that even sweetness can be evidence. We stand at parties near exits not because we plan to leave, but because doors teach rooms how to breathe. Sometimes, bent over a pair of boots with an old sole peeled back, I think about the inch and the heat and the way restraint asked me to be adult about my own skin. I glue, press, stitch slow and true. I put weight on the welt and feel it agree to a better day. Leather remembers what it's shaped to. So do people if you hold them to a line they can live with. If another tray turns up with my name folded under metal and a time that thinks it owns me, I will bring water. I will stand where the exit is visible and refuse to call that cowardice. If a hand rises toward my neck, I will let the inch exist and answer with a decision that survives breakfast. I will keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I set a shoe back on the bench and feel the stitch sit right all along the edge, when the sole takes the last nail, and the leather breathes like it has agreed to carry someone into the kind of day that returns its calls, I will remember the hotel corridor with the wrong floor and the room where we declined a finale and argued for repair instead. And I will call that quiet air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the only thing that still holds when applause forgets its line.